Here, Charlie. A policeman just knocked on my door. He said, I wonder if you could help me. I'm looking for a guy with one eye. I said, use both eyes, might have more luck. Charlie? Ah, that's right, he's not here. Well, I had a feeling that he doesn't appreciate my horrendous jokes anyway, so I might take advantage of his absence and pop another one in. I was visiting a monastery and I saw this guy cooking potatoes. I said to him, are you a friar? He said, nah, I'm a chipmunk. Yeah, I might stop these.
I think when we feel more connected with ourselves, we notice who we want to share our parts of ourselves with more. It's okay that you're struggling. I think it's about reconnecting to ourselves and to others.
Technical healing. Hello, and welcome to Technical Healing. This week's guest is Amy-Leigh, a former University of Bristol Politics and Sociology student. She is now a fundraising officer at the British Exploring Society and speaks openly and honestly about her experiences as a University of Bristol student, experiences in her life, and speaks eloquently about her encounters with mental health and well-being. It was an absolute pleasure talking to Amy-Leigh, and what she had to say is relatable to so many, and the advice that she gives will definitely benefit many listeners. Hello and welcome, Amy-Leigh. How are you today, Amy?
Hiya. I'm good, thank you. I'm grateful that the sun is shining.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day today, isn't it?
It really is. How are you doing?
Very well, very well. Also enjoying the sunshine. Okay, well, thank you very much for agreeing to come on to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here.
What did you study at the University of Bristol, and what are you doing now?
So I studied sociology and politics at the University of Bristol. I started in 2016 and graduated in 2019. I studied that degree choice specifically because I'm like deeply interested in humans and quite fascinated by the relational reality of our experiences and the fact that we don't exist separately as individuals. We are so intrinsically connected. So I'm interested in people and well-being and human nature, and studying that degree was an opportunity to look at how our social and political spheres completely transform lives and have an impact on lives. And yeah, so I think kind of was inspired to be so interested in humans and how we live and thrive. As I grew up in an environment where I saw and felt like the direct impact of mental health issues, and I was just inspired to understand people a bit better, and initially on an individual level, but then on a more societal, global, structural level. And that degree choice helped me to gain a deeper understanding of like how and why we engage in the world differently and similarly, and how and why we engage with our internal worlds differently and similarly. And it was really eye-opening and really, really fun to study. Also quite like depressing and challenging at times, but
Yeah.
really good. Um, and I am now. So after I graduated, I worked for the University of Bristol in their development and alumni relations office, which is all about connecting with alumni and fundraising for the university and working in voluntary and engagement type opportunities. And since then, I have moved to London and I'm working for a youth development charity called British Exploring. And we are way cooler than we sound. We're all about defying perceptions of who explores, and I think that people often have these ideas of British Exploring Society, like who is that for? But the idea is that it's for everyone. We provide access to opportunities for young people to get out into the wilderness and meet challenges and develop a load of resilience and build build self belief and courage, and we exist to help young people feel better equipped to tackle challenges, and to have that toolkit to help them make positive decisions in their lives and understand themselves and their world and how they can contribute meaningfully to it. So
Oh,
it's
that
an
sounds great.
awesome, yeah, it's a really cool charity. Obviously, not sending young people overseas at the moment,
No.
but it's been interesting to kind of adapt to the pandemic and find ways that we can still deliver our mission.
Do you see that as quite an important thing for young people to get out and explore and build that resilience?
Definitely, I really do think so. Interestingly, Marvin Rees, who's the mayor of Bristol, he's our president of the charity, and he gave a
Okay.
talk last year because he actually went on expedition with us when he was younger, and he spoke about how we find our significance in the insignificance. You know, when you're up stood on top of a hill and you're staring down at the world, or you're up a mountain, or you're out, I don't know, by a lake. The insignificance of the world and the peace around you is where we find our significance. And I think it's really important for people to out and explore and overcome challenges. I think that that's where we grow when we're stretched. And what's brilliant about what we deliver for young people, we stretch young people, but in a very supportive way to help them realize their potential. And yeah, I think that that's really key for everyone to have those opportunities and grow and explore. It's awesome.
Yeah. So what kind of places are you sending them to? I presume it's not like Barbados for 2 weeks.
No, it's not. So we've gone on expeditions to the Himalayas, to Namibia, to the Yukon in Canada, the Peruvian Amazon. So some really amazing remote wilderness destinations that you wouldn't often just hop on a plane or a ship and, and go to with your pals. And we have, professional expedition leaders who go with them who are incredible and know so much about the world. And um, what the way we've adapted to the pandemic is we're now delivering virtual expeditions. So our leaders are filming Zooms and bringing young people on there and watching those and learning some of the stuff that they share and the skills that they deliver is amazing. And it's really inspiring because it makes you realize, like, wow, like humans can do really awesome stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So going back to your time at the UOB, University of Bristol,
Hmm.
could you describe your overall experience of studying here?
Yeah, it's hard. I think it's hard to summarize because I think, yeah, university for everyone is a huge mix of things for a lot of reasons. I had such a fun time at university, but I also had like an unbelievable crippling time at university. Like it was tough. It was wonderful and inspiring, and I learned a lot. It was really tough. I think what I struggled with at first was the fact that you kind of have to re-establish yourself when you get to university. So you're in this new place with completely new people, and you might have a sense of self before you get there, but you kind of have to reestablish it when you do. Um, so I found that quite difficult. And being surrounded by new people and new exciting things and new pressures, from every angle, like I did find that difficult. The University of Bristol is an incredible university, but with that comes more pressure. You're surrounded by high achieving people who can talk really well, and I found myself under a lot of pressure to live up to that and to be smart enough and to communicate as beautifully as did, and but also to be fun enough and to be making the most of the experience. And Bristol's full of very cool people. I don't know if you've seen the students that walk around Bristol University. They are trendy. So not only do you have to be clever, but you have to be effortlessly clever and really trendy and laid back and really fun and go to parties and do loads of naughty stuff. And um, I'm so old.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it was difficult. I found that tough, and as someone who has like I've struggled with like my self-esteem. So being flung into the big wide world of a university and surrounded by people who I thought were way smarter and cooler than me was difficult. But I found my feet, and I had a great time when I did. I spent a lot of time volunteering with societies like humanitarian societies and connected with people who had similar values to me and wanted to see similar changes in the world. And my degree, like studying it, was really, really good. Difficult though, I think like university is the one time that no one's really telling you what to do. And if you don't have the right support, that can be really challenging. So I did find that hard at times in terms of motivating myself and not just going out and drinking cider at the harbour every day, because
Yeah,
that's incredibly tempting. But yeah, overall experience, I loved studying there. It was hard, but I learned a lot about myself and about other people, and I loved being in Bristol. It was a amazing and super varied city, but also really small. And I love how easy it was to get out into nature and go on lovely bike rides and also
yeah,
drink lots of cider.
yeah, yeah. It's got a bit of everything, hasn't it, Bristol?
It does, it really does.
So, what's been your proudest achievement, either whilst studying at the university or
Mm.
since?
I think graduating, but graduating with, I was given a student leader award by the student union. So in my final year, I was so happy and proud of myself to have graduated, and then to be awarded that was a
Yeah,
whole other thing in
fantastic.
itself. Um, and I think I was especially proud of myself for that because I didn't think I was going to go to university. I didn't think I was going to get my A levels, and I also didn't think I was going to get my GCSEs. Really, I struggled a lot in secondary school with responding to like complex trauma and difficult experiences as a child, and I struggled with my mental health. And um, my teenage response to that was bunking school and going and smoking cigs in the bus stop and
Yeah,
drinking lots and just being really, really, I guess, naughty is the label that I was given. But yeah, I didn't think that I was going to get my GCSEs, and then I knuckled down, and I did. I was then kicked out of sixth form because I was struggling with depression and struggling to motivate myself to get in. And then I went and got my A levels at college, and then I got into Bristol University, which was like a phenomenal achievement in itself. So then to kind of rewrite a future for myself at university and settle in and find communities and feel like I was not just achieving things for myself but also supporting other people was just like yeah, really transformational, and I was really proud of that.
yeah. What was the turning point for you, like you said, when you were going
Mm,
through the rebellious stage of your GCSEs? What was it that made you
mm.
think, actually, I do need to turn this around and knuckle down?
I don't actually know specifically. I just remember getting to year 11 and thinking, okay, I either make a decision now to fuck with my life
Mm,
and, well, not completely, but make life much harder for myself because of the way that systems are made so that you have to have ridiculous grades on pieces of paper to show that you're valuable, or I don't. And I make things a bit easier for myself because things have been so tough for so long anyway. So I did, I just started trying. And because I had a lot of friends who were the year above me, they'd left school. So I stopped hanging out with them and bunking off school with them. And just, yeah, I just did. I just got on with
okay, well, lighten it up with the next question.
it.
What was the funniest moment at the University of Bristol?
I really hope that I can do this story justice. Um, so my when I was thinking about it, my funniest moment, like it has to be so the University of Bristol ski trip is like it's kind of like a rite of passage when you're at the University of Bristol, which is totally inclusive and accessible for everyone, of course. Um, but I I saved up money. Me and my friend who had never been skiing before saved up money so we could go on this ski trip, be part of the cool crew who would go skiing, and like it was just hilarious. So the first day we like I said, we'd never been skiing before, and one of our friends um, had been a lot. Like he'd done a ski season, and he was determined to like really kindly show us how to ski. So we got up on the slopes, we're in our ski kit, we've got our skis on. Bear in mind, we don't even know, I can't even remember what it's called now, the snow plow. We didn't even know how to do that. We were clueless. So me and my friend Luke, who was my fellow non-skier, were taken up onto a ski lift by our friend Angus, who was a very experienced one. And I was thinking, why the hell are we on a ski lift? Don't ski lifts take you up mountains? And we'd not even gone. I thought we were going to the beginner slopes. I was confused. I was on a ski lift. I'm terrified of heights. I'm already freaking out. And then Angus is like, "Oh, yeah, good point. Maybe I should have taken you to the beginners." He thought he was taking us up a green, which is kind of a step up from the beginners. And we get off the ski lift and we're on a blue slope, which is like it's a slope, it's a mountain. The only way to get down is to ski down it. So
Right.
we're like, okay, I guess we're gonna learn to ski now. and, and we tried. Oh man, we tried. Like every time, because it was so steep and we were trying to just find our balance and learn how to maneuver on these things. Like every time we moved slightly, it was like, whoop. And Luke, my friend Luke, had just absolutely had enough. Like it was painful and it was really difficult. And he was like, I'm gonna find a way down. So he starts walking back up this mountain and hops on a ski lift. And people are like, no, mate, don't do that. Like shouting up at him, like, don't do that. You're not supposed to go back down on the ski lifts. He's like, whatever, I can't go down this mountain. So he gets himself in the ski lift and he thinks he's going down, but it starts taking him up. So we see him kind of like turning around like, oh no. And he's going up and he ends up on a black ski slope.
Oh,
Has
God.
just made things so much worse for himself. And he's completely on his own now, so he doesn't even have anyone who can guide him down. So he gets off and then again he's like, oh God, what do I do? Tries to get into another ski lift. The only way back down from a black, the only route on a ski lift from a black is down. Like the black is the highest you can go. So he gets on a ski lift and he starts going down. And again, people are like, no, don't do that. That's really dangerous. And he's like, it's fine. It's fine. I'm going down the mountain. I'm going down. And he starts relaxing. And then all of a sudden, the ski lift like flies open and he's like trying to grab on for dear life, like falling out of the ski lift. Manages to hold himself in it and travel all the way down this mountain. But people are watching from like beneath, like, oh my God, is that guy okay? And he kind of like falls out the ski lift. And this man comes up to him and is like, mate, are you okay? And he's like, oh God, like understandably freaking out. And it turns out this kind man who goes over to him is a ski trainer and like a teacher. He's a teacher and he offers Luke free lessons for the rest of the week. So Luke is absolutely fine after that, like traumatic experience, yes, but then he goes and gets free ski lessons and he's smashing the blue slopes by the end of the week. I managed to get to the bottom of the mountain. My shins are absolutely aching because I had to spend most of it walking and like the pressure in your ski boots is a lot. And I'd had enough. I didn't ski for the rest of the week. I was absolutely livid and really, really pissed off that um, yeah, I'd spent so much money to try and go skiing, but was so traumatized after the first initial attempt down the mountain that I just couldn't bear to get back on the slopes. I got on the beginners a couple of times. Yeah, it was scary.
Well, that sounds terrifying and
It
funny.
was. It was. You've got to laugh or you cry at these things.
Okay, so this podcast is focused on exploring mental health and well-being. If you don't mind, how have you experienced or encountered mental health in your life?
So, mental health and mental health issues have been something that have been part of my life since I was quite, well, always been part of my life, I'd say. I come from a single parent family, and my mum has struggled with her mental health. Always been absolutely fantastic and so supportive, but we've known that it's there. And I was fortunate to grow up in an environment where we were encouraged to talk openly about our feelings and to share and to reflect. So, an awareness of mental health and mental health issues is always something that I've had. And like I said, growing up, I experienced complex trauma and struggle with complex PTSD. Yeah, I've kind of spent my life trying to manage that, and people respond to trauma in very, very different ways. I have spent a lot of my life trying to run away from my feelings, and like I mentioned, finding ways to cope through like drinking and taking drugs and traveling, moving around all the time. I mean, keeping super busy and I don't know, doing things like mindlessly watching TV and even some like helping other people as a way to cope because I didn't have to deal with my own feelings. So yeah, my mental health has been complex, hence the complex PTSD diagnosis. Um, I've struggled with anxiety and depression and have had experiences with suicide attempts and um, yeah, have spent a long time trying to figure out how to support myself in a loving and caring way. And yeah, I think it's that. I guess that's something that we all do. We all kind of run away from our feelings somewhat and find ways to cope and make life feel less scary. And but actually, like I think it's yeah, it's very human. It is human to feel a spectrum of feelings and feeling unhappy and stressed and anxious and tired, etc. It's a very valid response to the world that we live in, especially currently living through a pandemic, but also everything else in terms of inequality, racism, poverty, climate change. The world is quite a tough and scary place, and so I think it's very valid for us to struggle with with keeping up this strange pressure to constantly be happy. And I think more than that, like you, I'm coming at this from a total political, sociological angle, but like you don't have to be a Marxist to see that our our world is and our life is shaped by our means of production. Like our consciousness is shaped by the systems that we live in, and I mean by that we're living in a society where we are driven by a competitive pursuit of affluence. Like we're told to work harder, we're told to be better, we're told to be productive, and those are our priorities, and they're so embedded in us that I don't know if we always realize. So it's understandable that we all find ways to cope and run away from our feelings because we're not really taught self compassion and softness. We're not taught to feel in tune with our like mental responses to difficulties and our visceral responses, our physical responses to challenges. And yeah, my experiences has been that I have bottled things up because I had like even coming from a family where that was encouraged. Um, it's like interesting how much our social worlds impact our behaviors in ways that we don't even realize. And I think that's especially true for certain groups like men who are told that you have to be strong and to be strong is to be okay and to be positive and provide and is I think it's all quite mentally and spiritually exhausting. And I think that we are losing connection with ourselves and disconnected with others, and these are just like external, these are not even like biological or learnt or neurological experiences of mental health. So yeah, I've spent a lot of my life figuring out how and why we experience mental health and mental health issues, and that's been something that has been quite consistent in my life. And I think that I've been so interested in understanding it because there's been an aspect of not wanting to feel alone or different, because I think this is something that I often have at times felt weird or alone in the fact that I am struggling because I see people around me who are constantly performing to be otherwise. That was a very long answer to a short question.
Very good answer. How do you say you spent a lot of time running away from
Mm.
feelings? What techniques have you developed to to face them?
I think it's been so a lot of things. I used to have a list of coping strategies, and I'd be quite strict with myself and making sure that I was doing all of these different things to make sure I looked after my mental health. But the more that I've grown up, the more I've realized I think it's the answer to looking after my well-being, and I think our well-being as humans is it's reconnecting. It's reconnecting to ourselves and to others, and that's going to look different for everyone. I think for me, it's been being more conscious of like the social constructions and the ideals that I've been shaped by to empower me to come back to myself a bit more. So, you know, thinking more about how I feel and what my needs are rather than how I'm expected to behave and what the labels that are put on me say about me. It's been, yeah, reconnecting to myself. And also, and very importantly, I think stripping away the shame around feeling anything but joyful or happy. We have, I think, come such a long way in the conversations that we have about mental health and well-being and destigmatizing mental health issues. But I think destigmatizing mental health starts with how we respond to ourselves as individuals. It's learning to break free from the shame which we feel when we're not happy, and accepting that it's actually very human and very healthy to feel a spectrum of emotions. And that's part it I just feel so deeply that that's part of what it means to be human. And yeah, I think that's something that's helped me so much, just relieving that shame, and when I'm feeling sad, just letting myself feel sad and then knowing that I can pick myself back up again. So something that's really helped me with that is rather than like being annoyed with myself and being like, oh, for God's sake, why are you feeling sad again? Not again. Like, you're meant to be happy now. You've done all these things to make yourself happy. Being like, okay, let's meet this with some curiosity. So what I mean by that is asking myself questions like, what am I feeling right now? What is coming up for me? What might I need right now? What is this showing me? And slowing down and taking some time to do that rather than just trying to run away from it. It's like it's engaging in love and compassion for ourselves in quite like a radical way that we're not, like I mentioned, we're not kind of taught to do. It's not a priority. And for me, yeah, reconnecting to myself, I do that in a number of ways. Journaling has been incredibly helpful. Reflecting and musing and taking note of my day and how I feel. And taking time out to just be like, I like just sitting and just noticing and watching the world go by. Time away from screens, time outside, exercising, time that brings me back to me and provides me with some headspace and helps me to feel grounded. And lockdown has been so tough and so much tougher for certain people. But the one thing that it has done, which I'm grateful for, is provided me with more time and opportunity to do that, to like reconnect with myself and to slow down. And I think the second part, the reconnecting with others, I think when we feel more connected with ourselves, we notice who we want to share our parts of ourselves with more. We can pick up on how other people make us feel more so, who makes us feel like loved and seen and heard. And so with those people, connecting deeply with them means being vulnerable and opening up our rawer parts of ourselves. I am like completely obsessed with Brene Brown. I don't know if you've heard of her.
No.
She's a researcher. She's done a lot of work on, she's a social work researcher. She's got a TED talk. I think it might be the most watched TED talk actually. She talks about vulnerability, and she speaks about how vulnerability and courage are the same thing, because it takes courage to be our true selves and to share all parts of ourselves and to admit our faults and to ask for help, especially. That's being vulnerable. And so I think to connect deeply with other people, it's showing up like that. It's being our true selves, and even when that's scary, being our true selves. So yeah, to summarize, I think it's about reconnecting to ourselves and to others and giving ourselves the time and the ability to sit with our feelings and know that they're okay. They don't always feel okay, and sometimes we really need some serious support to manage them. But like part of being human.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what would you say is the most important factor in maintaining good mental health and well-being?
Most important is tough. I think just kind of going back to what I was just saying about reconnecting and taking time for ourselves. It's like it's that I think it's it's giving ourselves the time and the space to really understand ourselves and our feelings and know what's coming up for us. Because when we notice things more, we are better equipped to know when we might need to look after ourselves a little bit more. Um,
Do you think that the lockdown has helped a lot of people in that way? Obviously, some people are isolated and lonely, but it has
mm,
given people time to reflect and connect with themselves and summarize what's important, getting
yeah,
outside a bit more.
absolutely, absolutely. And I know that I can't speak for everyone. I know that it's helped me. I know that it's helped a lot of close ones and family and friends. So that, yeah, the lockdown has definitely helped in that sense. It's been really tough for reasons, but I think it's been an important reminder to slow down. You realize how fast-paced the world is when you're not engaging in it.
Yeah. So, for anyone that's struggling,
Hmm.
what would be your one piece of advice?
Ooh. Um, it's okay, and talk to someone. It's okay that you're struggling. It's okay that you are feeling anything but um, happy. And although it doesn't feel okay, and you might not be able to see, a light at the end of the tunnel right now, you will get there, and you'll get there with the love and support of the people around you. But they need to know what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got at the University of Bristol at the moment
Mm,
a staff wellbeing thing called It's Okay Too, where members of staff can write in and write a blog for others to
mm,
read, and that message of it's okay is really important, isn't it, for everyone? Whatever
absolutely.
you're feeling, it's
Hmm.
okay.
Exactly. It's okay. It's human. It's normal to feel things. And if you can express them, then that's a really beautiful thing. That sounds wicked that that's happening.
Yeah, it is good.
You can obviously cut this out if you want to, but I'm interested to know what your one bit of advice to people is who are struggling.
Oh, you've got me on the spot, haven't you?
Mm,
The most important thing to me would be
mm,
to talk to people, anyone really.
mm,
Just find support from someone because I'm quite an introvert in
mm,
a way, and there have been periods in my life where I've decided just to lock myself away, keep everything to myself, and the amount of stress that builds up inside it
mm,
is massive. And just sharing it, even if they can't do anything to help you, just having someone know that you're going through that
mm.
is just a little bit of weight is lifted, and it does help. I think that's my biggest bit of advice would be just find support wherever you can. It's not,
Yeah.
don't feel ashamed that you need to. Everyone
Mm,
needs it at some point.
absolutely. Absolutely. And again, coming back to the like destigmatization, starting with ourselves thing, it's really difficult to admit that we need that help sometimes, but we all do. We all do, and it's okay not to feel okay.
Yeah. I would also strongly recommend cutting down on devices,
Yeah.
social media. I think the world's gone a bit crazy with it now.
Yeah.
The amount
Well,
of,
yeah, absolutely. Me and my housemate were talking about this last night, actually. We were talking about like what did Victorian people used to do to keep them busy? Because you like
yeah,
people before phones existed. Because I we were saying like we find that every time we've got a second to pause, we find ourselves scrolling through our phones. So yeah, I'm completely with you there because I think since I've been consciously trying to actually enjoy those moments of pause and calm rather than going on my phone, you get a second to breathe and again reconnect with yourself rather than be looking at people performatively posting that is just really not a real reflection of actually what they're feeling and what they're living.
Yeah. Yeah, I often think when kids study those olden days, the Victorians, and
Mm.
I bet they think, oh, I'd hate to live in that time. You know, it, not the best, but when you strip it back and all they really had to think about was, well, I don't even know, but
Yeah,
I
just
think the
enjoying life,
yeah,
like just
or
being
even in
free.
you go back really far to like cavemen, basic,
Yeah,
just get food, get warmth,
yeah,
reproduce.
yeah.
That was their living really.
Exactly. Just hanging out, which is why it can feel so difficult to just be now because we're so far away from that. But, that's what humans do. We just kind of like bumble along the planet, enjoying life and hanging out.
Yeah,
Like, that's all it should be.
yeah.
Saying that though, I don't know if Victorian children were actually just enjoying life because a lot of them were working. So
Oh yeah, of course they
that
were. They was
sucked.
up chimneys, weren't they?
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad that that didn't happen. That's one thing I'm grateful.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, we've advanced very quickly technologically and socially,
Hmm.
mostly in a good way, but not
Yeah,
always.
no, exactly. And it's finding new ways to manage these crazy addictive technologies that are at our fingertips.
Mm, I'm quite horrified sometimes. Does your phone tell you how much average
Oh man.
hours you spend per day?
Yeah.
Oh,
What's your max been in lockdown? What's your highest
oh,
hour?
I think I've had like 15.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah,
That's really impressive.
yeah.
Are you streaming stuff? Are you watching stuff on it? Or are you
I guess I
just
must have been.
scrolling?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's horrifying, isn't it? Because
it
that
is.
basically tells you you slept, and then when you woke up, you were on your phone, and then you went back to bed.
Literally.
Terrifying.
Yeah. We can't be constantly, hanging out and reconnecting to ourselves in lockdown. There has got to be some moments and days of just absolutely not. It's
Yeah,
balance, isn't it?
yeah. It's all about the balance.
It's all about the
Absolutely.
balance.
Okay, thank you very much, Amy-Leigh. That's really been a pleasure. Very
Oh,
insightful. You did tell me before we spoke that you're not an expert, but I strongly disagree.
that's very kind of you. Thank
Uh,
you for having me on. It's been such a pleasure to chat.
thank you. Wish you all the best with what you're doing now and for the future. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
And you. Enjoy the sunshine.
We hope that you enjoyed this episode of Technical Healing. Remember to follow and like us on Facebook and Instagram and get in touch. Have any feedback, suggestions, or anything else really. Don't forget to review and subscribe to this podcast. Have a good week, and we'll speak again soon.